Space Dandy Episode 8, Lonely Pooch Planet, baby. This episode was a lot like what I believe was Episode 5 with the little girl character, at least for, the first half of it, where it was a very serious story, and, you know, the guys land on this planet that's basically just metal and machine parts. And Dandy comes across, this just dog, it's like a random dog. And, he gets really attached to it, and the dog gets attached to him, and the other characters too, we find out like QT likes it, although QT was fairly neutral on the situation, and Meow, of course, he acted like he hated it because it was a dog. He thought it was actually an alien species, and I think his natural distaste towards it, in the beginning was of course because even though he's technically not a cat, he is a lot like a cat. I mean, he kind of looks like one. He doesn't like water, much like cats. So I think he still had some sort of natural distaste towards dogs, so that's kind of why he instantly didn't like it. But they had no idea that it was a dog, which I thought was interesting. But you know, dogs are apparently really rare, just normal dogs. But Dandy kind of just falls in love with this little dog, and they play around on this planet the whole time. And it was just a really different feel than other most of the other episodes, especially with how the characters were acting and stuff in the very beginning, and even the actual beginning of the episode. It starts off with the Gogol characters, and the little subordinate guy. He's like fixing up the ship with this sort of DJ type setup that shoots missiles when you scratch the disc, and or I guess spin the disc technically. And it was really cool. I thought it was gonna start off, and it was gonna be one of those episodes where this is finally the episode where we get to learn about these characters, and most importantly, to me at least, why are these characters chasing Dandy? Like, what did he do to them that made him so mad? And I didn't think it would focus all on them, like their aspect of it or anything, although it could have easily gone that way too with the way it started. It could have just been a whole episode about, them when they're following Dandy, and it's like a couple of clips of, Dandy, Meow, and QT in this location or something, and then, these guys screwing up the whole time. But, excuse me. I thought it was going to be, we get to learn why they're chasing him. We'll get to, pretty much I just thought we're finally going to get this answer, but we don't. One thing we do get, though, is we get to see the boss of, Gogol again. And something I didn't realize the very first time they showed him is that his body is basically like an entire just universe spinning around. And that was pretty cool to me because, of all the aliens and the creatures that they show, none of them are just like, stars spinning around under a cloak. So I thought that was pretty cool. And he has like stars, or not stars, but planets around his crown, sort of like a solar system. So it makes me wonder, like, what type of character he is. Like, does he have some sort of power or something like that? Because he kind of makes me think of King Cosmos. I think that's the name of the character from Katamari Damacy, who's like, the king of like all that is in existence. And it just made me think that because he has like a universe or a galaxy or something spinning around for his torso. So I thought that was pretty interesting that we really got to see that character. But he's all we really found out was he's super super cheap, which was just kind of funny. But overall, I definitely loved this episode. The first half was you know silly and stuff, and they said some funny stuff, and then it got fairly serious and dramatic, and then the dog passed away, which was pretty sad and surprising. I didn't think that's how it would go, but the dog passes away, and then the little organisms that are actually on the dog, which are the unknown species that Meow was tracking on this free app, they transfer to him. And then the second half of the episode is the really funny portion where one of the creatures die, one of the brothers, and then the other takes over QT and chases the guys around for a little bit. That was really funny, and then they kill that one by accident, and their species actually was holding the planet together. And then there's like a giant black hole and stuff, and that was more, I guess, typical Space Dandy, action or comedy. But overall, great episode. Really weird twist, parallel between the episode. Like the first half is the characters just seem like they're acting so different to me. Like Dandy's doing all this silly stuff to get the dog out, and it was funny, but it was just like that seems so different for Dandy. But it was just a really good episode overall. And one of they had some really funny lines, like when the black hole happened, and they thought they were gonna die, like something Dandy said was like, "I always wanted to die from extreme sucking." I thought that was actually a hilarious little line. And something he said like in the very beginning when he saw the dog and he knew it was a girl, and he was like, they can say what they want about me, but I can always spot a bitch. And I just thought that was like they obviously said that line just because he's that type of not really chauvinistic character, but sort of pervy type of guy character. And I thought that was pretty silly too. But overall, love the episode. Really interesting thing. I don't know if anyone actually. It's hard. It would be hard not to catch it unless you always skip the openings. But they actually played the full opening this week. I have no idea why. They must have, I don't know, had less commercials to play, or they didn't put as many of those sort of in between things in that they do like normally. Because if they took all those out, I think they could play pretty much every single opening and ending, or not maybe not all of them, but they could play some of them. But they always have those things in there, and in between, like here's the new lineup, and they show that like 5 times a night, and like these 3 minutes they're using right here, per time they show it. That's why we don't get to see openings and endings, and then they put all that stuff. Like the game reviews, I think are okay, but it's like here's the lineup, 4 times throughout the night when you're watching the channel. It's like, well, I know, I know that. That's kind of why we don't get it. But if that's why they didn't do it, it was cool to see the opening. It surprised me. The only reason I saw the whole opening before was because I think I missed like the second episode, so I had to watch the Japanese version. So I saw the full opening before, but it was really cool to see it, and I like the music a lot better because we get the full song. But I think the edited version is actually really well done compared to some of the other openings we get for other anime that they didn't specifically make to fit Toonami. They just edited, and it's like, well, this is the whole thing, let's just chop it in half or something. So I like the edited version, but of course complete opening is always much much better. But love the episode, love the nice surprise opening for everyone who didn't get to see it. Now we have it. If you hadn't already looked it up, of course. But comment below, let me know what you guys thought of this episode, favorite parts, least favorite parts. And because this episode was so different to me, as far as like just the first, I think 5 minutes really was so drastically different to me, like how the characters acted, how it started, considering it showed the global characters for maybe, I think, well, the first 5 minutes was probably all them, so maybe the first 10 minutes as a whole was so different to me. How'd you guys think this episode was initially gonna go? Even though, of course, if you saw the preview, you knew it was gonna be them on the planet looking for the dog. How'd you guys think this episode was actually going to go when you first started watching it? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.